Okay, so this is welcome to the video for the first week of practice games for the Sharpest Semi-Slav. So the position we've started with here is one that hasn't been played much in practice so far. Sorry, I've missed the recording for the start of the game. That just took me a little while to get my setup going. But anyway, this position is one that hasn't really occurred much, but it has been quite topical on Chessable lately. Recently, it was recommended for black in Sam Shanklin's highly publicized lifetime repertoire, the Semi-Slav, and also in Daniel Barish's Principled Queen's Gambit course. He basically said, yeah, this is the best line against my proposed repertoire. It's a line that, there's a position that comes about in the anti-Moran, in a line where, for those of you who know the theory here, black takes on c4, plays b5, and then white retreats the bishop to e2. It depends on when black takes on c4 and plays b5, but let's say we'll call it 10 bishop e2. The anti-Moran with 10 bishop e2, this position arises from. So it hasn't been played much, but we've had recently two courses really sing its praises here on Chessable. And so I'm interested to see how this position actually plays out in practice, because it's a very interesting thing, the evaluation of this position. It is, by engines, evaluated as highly favorable to white. Engines give white quite a big advantage in this line. And alright, I'm going to give him a take back there. Don't really want these games to depend upon just the black of a rook like that. Anyway, the evaluation of the starting position. So engines give it quite a serious evaluation for, quite a serious advantage for white. At least stockish like Leela is a bit more interesting. I'll talk about what Leela says in this position later on. But very interesting thing, stockish gives quite a large advantage, which seems quite surprising to people who know their chess endgame theory. As anyone who knows their endgame theory will tell you, positions with a rook and a bishop against a king, well, one side has a king, rook, and a bishop, and the other side just has a king and a rook. That is a theoretical draw. So our starting position, it is one where black has a rook and 4 pawns, king, rook, and 4 pawns, and white has a king, a rook, and a king, rook, and a bishop. So you'd think, well, it's like this well-known theoretical draw, except the black has all these extra pawns. This should be, well, it should be a comfortable draw for black, essentially. And which makes the stockfish evaluation really interesting. So, and which makes the stockfish evaluation really interesting, and also makes the evaluation by Barish and Shanklin that this is essentially just a very safe draw. White's got no chances here. Very interesting. So as you can see here, I've immediately decided to trade off my G pawn, throw out the black G pawn, my A pawn. There's no way to save the A pawn, unfortunately. So you think this is really a dead draw for black. But anyway, so I was curious, like, why is Stockfish giving this evaluation if you know it's well known that these positions should be a draw? And so I did some database research. I looked up. Well, okay. First, I should talk about this position. So we've got Black's got a rook and 3 pawns, and I've got a rook and a bishop. Well, White's got a rook and a bishop. But all 3 of these pawns are isolated, and the king is cut off on the h-file. So it appears that Black is basically going to lose 2 of these pawns. So then we'll be left up in a position where White is going to have White's going to have a king, a rook, and a bishop, and Black's just going to have a king, a rook, and a pawn. And so I did some database researching. Like, how do these endgames actually play out in practice? We know, theoretically speaking, those endgames should be a draw, even without the pawn. They're going to be a draw. But in practice, it might be a different story. And when I looked it up, it turned out that it very much is a different story. In fact, if I looked at a database of recent games, I looked at positions where specifically White has that material. I think I'm going to call it a material advantage of the rook and bishop against the rook and pawn. And White scored about 68% from 200 games. So I thought, okay, this is really interesting. What is the evaluation of this endgame? And that's why I've chosen this as a starting position. It's one that Black can pretty much get by force. Is the good thing about it. If you want to get the starting position that we had in this game, Black can pretty much get it by force. And if it is, just a comfortable draw for Black, well then I'm gonna have to recommend that in the course, right? Because it's on about move 30, I think, that the position arises, and White's had to show some precision to get there. It's a very forcing, very direct solution, if indeed it is a solution to Black's problems. So it looks like rook c3 was a mistake there. It looks like I'm about to win both the c and the a pawns. So then the question is going to be, can I press for a win with the extra bishop? And like I said, I thought the database statistics suggested that maybe this endgame is quite tricky for Black to play out in practice. One question you might just have is, well, why can't we just study that endgame, study the rook and bishop versus rook? And certainly that is an endgame you can study, and I have no doubt that is an endgame that at a certain level it is worth studying. But at the same time, I think it's very important to recognize that it's not a simple endgame. It's not the kind of endgame where you'll just look it up in a book once, or twice, or however many times you think, and suddenly be able to draw the position by hand, essentially. It's always going to be really complex. If you look at the database for positions where king and rook versus king and bishop has occurred, you'll notice that there are a lot of people who have a lot of very strong players. I'm talking 2,700 plus players recently, who have failed to defend the inferior side of that endgame. And there can be no doubt they've read their basic endgame textbooks. So yeah, that's why I chose this position. That's why it interests me. At the moment, I've got this this allegedly dream scenario that I've spoken about with the king and rook versus king bishop. I really like this move, king g6. I was wondering if you were just going to let me cut him off on the h file, in which case I think black's position would have gotten very dangerous here. So yeah, king f7, open c5. Alright, go just check. And I think I want to get my king to d7. That way I'll take control of these squares around the black king. And maybe we can start pressing a little, hopefully. By this point, now that I've taken the pawns, I think quite clearly it is just a free roll for white. I wouldn't be too happy recommending this as a recommending that you defend this endgame in the course. I'm going to try and come up with lines that are a bit less depressing for black, essentially, than this one is. Okay, so I'm going to take my bishop on the long diagonal here, and I'm planning rook h7 check. So, oh no, it looks like Elliot has blundered here. So, yeah, looks like I just play rook h7 check, and then the king's going to have the move. After the king moves, I'm going to take the rook. He does have the extra option of king g6, which possibly he was planning, but the problem is that I've got rook g7 check. And oh, wait a minute. Maybe it's still complicated because there's king f5. Okay, well, no. King h6 then now. Of course, this is an elementary checkmate. Yeah. So we will just make a waiting move with my bishop. Make extra sure that I'm not stalemating here. And now we've got the checkmate. So that was it for our first position. I'll set up a separate video for the second position because this recording software that I'm using has a 15-minute time limit. Yeah, anyway, hopefully that gave you all a better idea of why I chose this position, what my thoughts are on it. I'll be interested to see what the thoughts are of people playing this who haven't studied it with an engine with databases. So obviously Elliot here thought he had a completely winning position. So that'll be interesting. So yeah, I'll see you in the next video.